Hello and welcome to our Friday webinar. We are on with Dr. Steffi Lamb. Welcome, Dr. Lamb.
Hello.
Hey! So today we're going to talk about, well, you are, sorry, you are going to give us the lowdown, a recap of the recent AAV conference, which surprisingly, was this the first time it's been kind of in your neck of the woods? Like it wasn't that far from you, right?
Yeah, it was in Phoenix, in Arizona. I guess I've been here before, but a long, long time ago. Definitely before I was like a veterinarian, many years before. So it was nice to have it close, and get to show off Arizona to people who haven't had the opportunity to come out here.
That's right. So were you like giving recommendations for like restaurants and places to go? Because
Yeah. Different activities for people to visit while they were here and while they had time away from the conference and everything.
that's right. And did anyone see the wild lovebirds in your area? Because the film, did you guys?
I'm not sure if anybody got to see them. I did tell a few people where they could go to reliably see them, because they are in like little different pockets in different parts of Phoenix. So I was trying to direct people to the correct places. So I don't know if anybody actually got to see them. Hopefully, some of the people who wanted to did.
Oh, that's cool. I just think it's really, I mean, anytime you can see something like different like that and I mean, just out and about is amazing.
Yeah.
Um, and so, wow, okay, well, this is like it's a really important conference. I'm sure people are starting to get the gist of just how much goes into AAV and what comes out of AAV. So I'm looking forward to seeing this presentation. And if you're just joining us, yes, tell us where you're coming from, because that's always a fun part of the day, seeing where everyone joins us from. So put that in the chat. And then maybe if we have time at the end, we'll do questions. And if we do have time at the end, use the Q&A button and not the chat feature. But let us know where you are in the chat feature, if that makes sense. All right, Dr. Lamb, I'm gonna let you, let's see, I made you co-host. So I can't wait to see this because I wasn't able to go. I've been before years ago, but it's always great to see what goes on in this conference.
Yeah, of course. All right, let me go ahead and share my screen here. All right, let's get that slideshow up. All right. So, um, today's topic is going to be about the 46th annual AAV conference. So, because we had it in Phoenix, Arizona, um, one of the individuals who is behind the scenes, her name's Liz. She is amazing. She works in the office essentially of AAV, and does all these great graphic work and everything. And so she was finding really cool pictures to advertise the birds in the area. So she got this great picture of a Gila woodpecker. It is on top of a saguaro cactus, just to show people kind of the unique species that they could potentially encounter when they come to Arizona, um, for this conference. So, first thing though, we're talking about the Association of Avian Veterinarians. That's what AAV stands for, just in case anybody wasn't sure of what exactly that. The AAV acronym meant. It's right up there for you in the little label in the corner, Association of Avian Veterinarians. And for anybody that doesn't know, the Association of Avian Veterinarians has more than 1,700 members, and that is composed of veterinarians, veterinary technicians, veterinary students, and then also that are people that are considered allied professionals. And all these people they work in private practices, colleges, universities, zoos, government, industry, and many of the AAV's members are considered global leaders in avian conservation, wild bird health, and of course avian medicine. The AAV strives to preserve and protect birds in their wild and native habitats as well. Though this is a group that's really focused on the medicine of birds, there's a lot of other areas that it sort of branches out and helps in. And the mission statement, I put it up here, is that the Association of Avian Veterinarians is a diverse global professional organization that is dedicated to advancing and promoting avian health, welfare, conservation, and doing all of that through education, advocacy, and science. And education is first on there because really the AAV has done so much to really be at the forefront of um, teaching veterinarians and veterinary professionals, students, technicians, what have you, how to, be good veterinarians and help these animals in a variety of ways. So that's what the AAV is. Every year we have a conference, and that conference does move around to different parts of the US. And this year I was the immediate past president slash conference chair. So the prior year I was the president, and prior to that I was the incoming president. So I had been asked, I think it was, let's see, if we're in 2025, it must have been 22 or something like that, that I was asked if I wanted to be the president of the Association of Avian Veterinarians. And I was a little shocked when I got the call that somebody asked me if I wanted to do that, because I was like, what do you mean, me? Like, I love birds, I love education, I love everything about the AAV. I'm a member, been a member for a very long time. I find them extremely valuable, but I just didn't know that I was like president material. Um, so I was a little surprised when somebody called and asked me if I would be interested, but after a little bit of thinking, I was like, this seems like a really great opportunity and something that would be fun to do. So I did the first year as incoming president, the second year as president, and then the third year as the outgoing slash conference chair. And the conference chair gets to help really dictate how the conference is going to happen. Now, I don't obviously have 100% say. There's absolutely a team of people who are helping to create the conference and get it, off the ground running. But I had a lot of say in the different like sessions and how things were flowing and all that sort of stuff. And I encouraged the AAV to have the conference in Phoenix, Arizona, because I live in Phoenix, Arizona. I really like it here. And I think a lot of people think that Phoenix, Arizona is just this really hot place. It's a desert, nobody wants to come to. Does anything even live out there? Not sure. So I wanted to kind of show off the great state of Arizona and show people that it's not horrible out here. You can live out here. And we have some great things. So we ended up having the conference at a place called Gila River Wild Horse Pass. It's while I say it was in Phoenix, it's actually on native land, the Gila River or Gila Reserve. So there's a picture in the center here of the actual conference itself, like the conference center, the hotel and everything. This is a picture that I took from my window, sort of showing down where the conference is. This area over here is actually where the conference was held at. With all their different like workshops and lectures and everything. But just to show off a little bit more of Arizona, I put a picture of the Grand Canyon. Now, granted, the Grand Canyon is a little far away. It's about 4 hours drive north from where we were, but hopefully, I don't know, maybe some people went there while they were visiting. I hope some people took advantage of the opportunity to see the Grand Canyon, because it is, one of the 7 natural wonders of the world, and it's a really beautiful and amazing place to see. I also put pictures of saguaro cactus, because the saguaro cactus is, native to the Sonoran Desert. It only really lives here, other than when people have moved it to other places. But naturally, this is where the saguaro cactus is from. It's kind of the iconic plant that people see pictures of and know Arizona. And then I also took a picture of this nice snake here. This little guy, actually, one morning from the conference, right across the street from the conference, like if you're looking at this photo here, it's actually taken from the perspective of an area where there's like a just deserty landscape. And you can walk over from the hotel to that desert landscape. There's a little bit of like a small little trail on there that people could walk around. And I went over there one morning and I encountered this little guy. So a nice little rattlesnake that was just hanging out. I thought it was pretty neat, but I respectively kept my distance. He actually let me know he was there. I did not see him, but I heard him when he started rattling at me, and I was like, oh, okay, let me walk over here, take a photo of you. You have a good morning, sir. I will go on my way. So it's kind of neat to see him. Um, Now, when I'm going to walk you guys sort of through the conference and some things that happened there. I just want to mention I listened to the webinar last week that you guys had with Dr. Pilney and Laura. One of the things that you had said at the end was how we have people who are bird people. We kind of have a community amongst each other as these people who like birds. And one of the great things about the AAV conference is it's a community of people who like birds and sort of have this shared mindset of let's help birds. How can we help birds? What can we do to let these animals have good, healthy, happy lives? And how can we help in all aspects of avian health and welfare? The conference, not only is it a place to go to learn stuff, it's also a great place to go to just get a sense of community with like-minded people. So when people first showed up to the conference, this was the main registration area. I have a picture of the registration booth, little signs around that are sort of showing where you need to go, because first day of conference is usually things that are typically labs that are happening, and then the following days are usually where there's all the lectures and everything. This was just a close-up picture, which you can't really see very much because there was a lot of detailed information on it, but this was the schedule. And this doesn't even show the lab schedule. This was the 3 days of conference schedule that was happening. The days were really packed full of lots of good education. And you can see there's actually the first day of conference, everybody is in the same room, seeing all the same talks initially, but then you actually, as the day goes on and the following days, you can see that there's multiple sessions that are happening back to back. So people have to make a decision, which session am I going to go into, which is often hard for a lot of people because a lot of people, there's lots of great sessions. People want to go into a variety of different things. So I will say that sometimes that's one of the comments is, well, there were really a lot of great sessions going on. I would have liked to have gone to them all. But there just simply isn't enough time to get all lectures in for everybody. It'd be awesome if we can make these things 6 days long, but that's just too much for a lot of people. um, so first day, that was the lab day. You have the option of picking a lab, but not everybody wants to go to a lab for one reason or another. And the labs are actually an additional cost, and there's limited space for people attending labs. Not everybody who attends the conference, there's not a spot for every single person to go into a lab. So there's many people who are left to do other things. We did have a track called the fundamentals track, where people, if they were sort of newer to working with birds, could go into the fundamentals track and learn about sort of more of the basic foundational stuff that is helpful in avian medicine. Or the other thing that we had for people was the option of a bird walk. AAV likes to take people out to the local native wildlife areas so that people can observe the birds that are out there in the wild around, because pretty much everybody who's come into these conferences are bird lovers in one way or another, whether they engage in the hobby of birding, which is its own individual hobby of people going out and observing birds in the wild, keeping lists or having goals of seeing particular species, or maybe the people aren't engaging in the birding hobby, but they like to just occasionally go out and see what's around. There was a mix of people who had come. You can often tell who's more of a birding hobbyist, a serious one based on the size of their camera. Like this photo here, this is Dr. Ann Burke. She was actually one of my mentors when I was a resident, and you can see she's got a really great camera. She's probably getting some awesome photos while she was there. But it was fun because you got all these people who are out there watching the birds. We went to a local riparian area. And remember, Phoenix is in the desert. And so water is really important in the desert. Of course, water is important anywhere, but in the desert, animals are always trying to seek water, right? So it's usually by areas where there is water that you're going to find a lot of birds and other wildlife congregating, taking advantage of that natural resource that everybody needs. So the people congregated there as well to have a look at all the birds that were out there. I have various pictures of birds here. I did not take any of these photos. I cannot take credit. I do actually engage in the hobby of birding, but I do not have one of the gigantic, great looking lenses to get good photos. So these are actually from a trip that I did, a birding trip I did actually last year, a year ago in November, in southern Arizona to see a variety of different avian species. But a different individual on that trip took these photos. But I put these photos up because these are just a sampling of all the different birds that we saw when we were out doing the birding trip with AAV. This is a curve-billed thrasher, and he's sitting on top of a saguaro cactus. It's really amazing. I mean, look at this bird. Look at those cactus spines. Like none of us would be standing on top of that, but that bird's like, it's okay. I'll hang out on top of this thing. They're really quite amazing. A great blue heron just hanging out in the water. This is a white-winged dove. A little killdeer, female Anna's hummingbird. This was a black phoebe, and then over here is a great-tailed grackle. So just a variety of different birds that we saw. We definitely saw more than this. I think I ultimately counted at that walk, we saw like close to 30 species in just a few short hours. But these were ones I had photos of. Okay, now for those people who stayed behind and did labs, there were a variety of labs that people were able to take. This is just a picture of an orthopedics lab that was happening, where people actually get to learn how to do orthopedic procedures on birds. There were other surgical labs, there were handling labs, there was an ultrasound lab that was really cool, pretty desirable lab, where some volunteer chickens had come over to get ultrasounds and teach people how to do ultrasounds. It's pretty great. Now, next day, after the labs are done and the bird walk and all that stuff, we really kick off the actual conference itself. And usually at the kickoff of the official conference, we'd have what's called the plenary session. And during the plenary session, it's various talks that are considered to be really helpful for practitioners, that kind of everybody we want to know about. Sometimes it's like newer research that is helpful for a variety of people. But we also have keynote speakers come. And so usually there's a keynote speaker that's talking. There's so many different keynote speakers that we've had over the years, but they're always great people telling us something amazing about birds usually. And this year we actually chose to have two keynote speakers speaking about the California condor. So in northern Arizona at the Grand Canyon, I think it was in the 90s, I forget exactly what year it was, they released California condors back into native environment of being in the Grand Canyon. Historically, there was evidence that they had been there. The California condor is a endangered species that got down to only 22 individuals in the wild, and people actually went out in the 1980s and actually captured those 22 individuals, brought them into captive breeding situations to breed them so that they could be re-released to try to help this population of birds rebound and get to better numbers. And thankfully they have, now they're up to the 500s. But these are two individuals who have played roles in that California condor reintroduction. And so we had both of them come and speak on different perspectives. So uh, we have one individual. This is Chris Parrish. He is the CEO of the Peregrine Fund, and he was speaking about the California condor and its importance from like the scientific perspective. Why is it important that we consider that we have the California condor, you know, be around? Why is it important to conserve this endangered species? And then we also had Robert Mesta, this individual over here, who was speaking about the California condor from its importance from the Native American perspective. So it was it was really neat because you have this like very science sort of perspective, but then you have this more spiritual perspective of that kind of gets to the heart of why this bird is important and why we should have this bird around. And he gave a Robert Mesta had given a lot of really interesting reasons and perspectives from different Native American cultures of how the California condor is really important in these cultures. So I thought it was a pretty interesting um, keynote keynote event that occurred there. At the plenary session, we also have something really important that happens every year, and it is the TJ Lafeber Practitioner of the Year Award. So, you know, Lafebers are, you know, you guys, the individuals who are putting on these great webinars. Um, uh, Ted Lafeber comes out and gives the TJ Lafeber Practitioner of the Year Award. It's a really neat little like. I should have put a picture of it up. I realized I didn't actually put a picture of what the award actually looks like. It's like a bronze cast of Lafeber Senior, because this is Lafeber Junior. Lafeber Senior's hands holding a little budgie, and it's just a really nice like way to symbolize care for these little tiny delicate creatures, the budgie being the representative of all birds, but these delicate creatures that we all really love and hold dear to our hearts. And this year the award went to Dr. Julia Ponder. So she has been an individual that has been in the avian medicine community for a long time, being one of our leaders in lecturing and educating veterinarians. And she actually was one of my teachers. So it was really nice to see her get the award because for me, she was really helpful. She was one of my teachers at the University of Minnesota. She is someone who guided me she actually encouraged me to apply for AAV's student scholarship that I got as a student. So I was very happy that she got the award this year because it's very well deserved. She has been very helpful to many avian veterinarians, more so than she probably even knows. So it was a very well-deserved award this year, as it is every year. But because I know her, I was happy. Um, Another really fun event that happened was the Seize the Sky event by Chan the Birdman. This was put on by Harrison's Bird Food. So they independently asked for Chan the Birdman. I'm sure some people out there in the bird community know about him, who he does a lot of like avian education, avian helping people know how to read their birds, interact with their birds, deals with behavioral problems, helps people shape behaviors in their birds, and probably helps shape those humans to have better behaviors with their birds too, so that humans and birds can live together a little bit more harmoniously when there are any behavioral issues. But he came out, and it was really neat because he brought his flock of macaws here that you can see, to meet people, and then also did a show for us. And that involved taking the birds over across the street from where I showed you where we were at the resort, the conference center. There was that little desert area that I was telling you that was across the way.
Okay.
This is that little like desert area where there was a little walking place that people could go. And you have all these people prepared. You don't see anything yet in this photo, but there's all these people prepared waiting for something. And then he released his birds, and he let his birds fly around, and you can see them just all over, taking loops around the people. It was really, uh, nice to see these macaws enjoying themselves, looping around. A couple of more photos here. There were 3 hyacinths, a scarlet, and then one was a hybrid. So you can see them just having a good time, taking loops all around over us. All the people were really excited to see it. There's the one looping
Wow.
overhead. um, and this was right before the sun was going down. He wanted to get out there before the sun fully went down, of course, for safety reasons, but it's a really great time to get the birds kind of out there for people who take better photos than me. I'm not the best at photo taking. Oh, so one of the birds did actually go a little further than it was supposed to, but because he, works really well with these birds and does free flight all the time, of course, the bird came back just fine. But he had to go out a little bit to get him and then bring him back. So it was just a really nice event to see these macaws free flying. Okay, so after that, the next day we actually get into our sessions. Just a cute little picture somebody had on one of their PowerPoint slides that I captured because I was like, oh, look at that parrot. He's going to teach us everything we all need to know about avian medicine. I'm going to go through a few of the sessions where I thought there was some interesting information that people might want to hear about. Of course, there were tons and tons of great talks. So obviously I can't go through everything, but I just picked out a couple of key things that I thought might be interesting. Okay, so one of the talks that was, I think, important for us veterinarians to know about was the use of a hormone implant that's used quite frequently called deslorelin, and how it actually affects birds' lipids or their fat levels in their blood, and how it affects certain hormones in cockatiels. This particular implant, deslorelin acetate, I'm sure a lot of the people who are watching this webinar and participating have probably heard about it at some point, or maybe if you haven't heard about it, maybe you will at some point, who knows. But it is a common hormone that is used um, in birds to help with reducing hormones. As we've talked about many times, hormones are a big issue in birds, for better and for worse. Birds are not spayed, they're not neutered, so they are definitely individuals that have the ability to be quite hormonal at times. And sometimes that can lead to certain behaviors or medical problems with them. And so veterinarians are constantly having to look into ways to reduce hormones in birds, whether it be through behavioral modifications, altering the environment, which is kind of the preferred thing, or through medical management routes, when our behavioral and our environmental alterations aren't cutting it. Or if we have an individual who's having real medical problems that we just really need to cut out their hormonal drive quickly. So deslorelin is something we use to try to stop that hormonal drive, but there's still a lot that we don't really know about the hormone, and how it affects birds differently and affects different things in their body. And so this lecture was great because it taught us a little bit more about how does it actually affect their fat levels in their blood. I definitely, as an avian practitioner, have used this hormone implant when I've had birds with certain lipid disorders, and have certainly seen them have improvements in lipid levels. So this was a neat talk because it kind of helped us further understand exactly how that works. Another talk that was given was about the use of CBD and CBA products for orange-winged Amazons and how it affects their pain levels. So, you know, understanding pain control in all animals is really important because there's a lot of painful problems out there, right? You know, we have animals that break legs or maybe have, can get into fights with individuals and have cuts and lacerations, or maybe they're having surgery for some reason, or maybe they're having some medical problem that's just innately a painful condition, maybe they have some GI issue, what have you. And it's really important for us to understand how to control pain because pain is a real welfare problem, right? Nobody likes to be in pain. No human likes to be in pain. No animal likes to be in pain. It's not pleasant. So when we, are trying to treat animals that are painful, we need to make sure we have medications that actually help with pain, and help with different kinds of pain. So CBD is something that has gotten more and more attention lately, in how it could potentially be helpful for painful situations with different types of animals. And thankfully, we're starting to do some research on the avian side of things to understand how this may or may not be helpful in different painful situations with birds. So that was just an example of one talk that was given regarding that. Here's another talk that I thought was really interesting. This was about the use of botulinum toxin type A, or Botox, in birds. So, when we think about Botox, right, we think about people using it for helping, I don't know, make their face look a little bit better, right? Getting sort of wrinkles, right? That's what Botox is often used for. It's a cosmetic drug, right? But actually, Botox, it came about for other reasons. It's actually a toxin, really. And people started exploring its use of how could we potentially use this thing, knowing how the toxin actually works. And then it got into the industry of what I want to say, like cosmetic industry, and that's where it's really kind of blown up. But actually, you can use it medically for different things. And this talk was actually using it for tendon contracture problems. So when a bird has an injury to its wing, sometimes, as one of the components of that injury to the wing, there's a little tendon that exists between like the shoulder and the wrist. And that little tendon is the propatagial tendon, and it actually helps like make the little protagium, supports the propatagium, which is like the webbing that is present between the wrist, or the shoulder and the wrist. And sometimes when there's an injury to the wing, there will be contracture of that tendon. So that tendon sort of tenses itself up and doesn't relax. And you may be able to fix a fracture in a wing to the level where a bird should be able to fly, but if there's contracture of that tendon, they may not actually be able to extend the wing out. And so not only do you have to have appropriately functioning bones in a wing to fly, but you need to have appropriate functioning tendons, muscles, skin, feathers. Like there's multiple things that go into a bird actually flying, right? And so if you get contracture of that tendon, the bones may be totally fine, but you may not be able to fly because you just can't get that wing out. And so this was looking at using Botox in that propatagial tendon to see if we can utilize that to actually help with making that propatagial tendon actually have more length to it, and have its normal functioning. So the study showed that it did improve the propatagial tendon contracture. It didn't get it back to completely normal, but it was just a, first time study. So it was pretty cool because it gives us the thought of, well, okay, how could we potentially use this? Might it be something we could use in the future? Could we possibly do like multiple injections of this? Because this was a single injection. Could we do, like multiple injections and maybe get it to work well? It was a cool lecture because it was a novel way to think about a problem and how to fix a problem. But it also, as uh, any good research does, it makes you think more. It makes you go, okay, well, this is interesting, but now I'm thinking about this, that, and the other problem, and what else could we possibly do to help this even better. So that was neat. Another one that I thought was good was actually by the same individual, the same presenter. It was about the successful outcome following conservative management of complicated bilateral radius and ulna fractures in rock pigeons. So basically what that means is, so your radius and ulna are in like this portion of your arm and also the bird's arm, also known as the antebrachium. And there were several birds that had gone into this facility with fractures of that particular part of their wing. Um, and it's actually kind of a sad story because there was birds, I think it was either 22 or 24, I forget the exact number, but in the 20s, of birds, these pigeons that had all come in at the same time with fractures because um, there was a person who broke their wings because presumably, I don't know, but presumably this person probably doesn't like pigeons, and didn't like them around. So he was breaking their wings and just letting them go. And a good Samaritan, nice neighbor, saw what was going on, picked up all those pigeons and brought them to a wildlife center, to try and help them. And what the study ultimately showed was like they didn't do any sort of orthopedic pinning or anything like that. They just did conservative management because um, one of the things that we can do when we have birds coming in with fractures is we can put pins in them. But pins are, there's expense behind that, right? Like the cost of the pins themselves, the putting them under anesthesia, there's risk associated with anesthesia. There's time, and a lot more time goes into pinning a wing versus wrapping it. And so they looked at what sort of outcome do we have if we just wrap these wings, and they showed a lot of individuals were actually able to be released. So I bring this up partially because, well, I guess I would say I bring this up mostly because that's definitely an animal welfare problem. A lot of people sadly don't like pigeons, and they're just birds, just like any other bird. I'm sure most people on this call or on this webinar, um, we all like birds, right? And probably most people are fine with pigeons, but not a lot of people out there in the world are fine with pigeons. And you know, it's just, I like this picture of this pigeon here off to the side with a sticker that says "Be nice to pigeons," because we do need to be nicer to pigeons. And Laura, I believe you have a shirt on today that has a pigeon on it.
It's like, yeah, I happen to wear my pigeon shirt. It's like stay poo. It's just
I mean, pigeons are great birds. There's nothing wrong with them. No reason for people to inhumanely break their wings and then let them go, because those animals were suffering, and that's not okay. So people out there can help them when there are problems like that. Teach us maybe to also be just a little bit more humane to our fellow living creatures. Moving along, we also had some great talks from Dr. Scott Eccles. He revealed a lot of information for us, about several CT scan studies that he's been doing, looking at different parts of the vertebral sections of the bird's body, and different disorders and things that have been found, like in the neck region versus in the thorax, lumbar, which is like lower back, tail region. So he this is just the end of one of those lectures, where he was talking about tail disease, and tail disease may be something that's even more common than what people recognize. Traditional radiographs, we can see the tail on radiographs, but traditional radiographs do make it a little bit difficult to actually see the individual vertebral bodies really well when you have really small birds. And so there's probably more tail disease out there that we're missing. The CTs allow us to see it so much better and see those individual vertebral bodies with a lot more detail and see where there could be lesions and problems. And Dr. Scott Eccles has presented a few times now on birds that are tail mutilators and how those birds who mutilate their tails, where he's done CTs on them and found some substantial underlying bony changes that probably are causing them some level of discomfort and pain, and in managing those changes that happen to those vertebral bodies, have had some great success with birds with mutilation of their tail. Sometimes it does involve amputation of the tail, but can get those birds to stop bothering because they're not having some painful thing be present anymore. Um, this is another case where there was a topic about a bird who had continually mutilated itself repeatedly over a prolonged period of time. And it was an interesting case because it actually was ultimately found to be caused by avian bornavirus. That's something that we've talked about, many times on these webinars before. And you guys have had Dr. Susan Oroz and Dr. Dalhousen on these webinars talking to people about avian bornavirus and avian ganglioneuritis, and the various problems that it can cause. But in this case in particular, it was found to have avian ganglioneuritis, and it was causing problems in the bird's spine so that the bird started mutilating itself. So a sad case for sure, but very educational because I think traditionally a lot of times avian veterinarians and in the avian community, we often think that these mutilation cases are because of when birds mutilate themselves, it's because of behavioral things, and certainly behavior is one of the things and can play a role. But sometimes there's true underlying disease that's causing them to do the behavior. And this was an example of one where there was truly underlying disease that was causing that behavior to occur. Just one other talk that I thought was good was talk about compassion fatigue. This is a room full of veterinarians that were at this conference, right? Veterinary technicians, all that. And these are people who are working with animals day in and day out. And, there's a lot of sad stuff that people see. Sick animals coming into a hospital is difficult to deal with, and sometimes that can really wear on people's hearts and people's minds, and people can start to experience compassion fatigue. The most compassionate individual can start to experience compassion fatigue, and Dr. Jesse Fallon did a great talk on that subject, specifically regarding veterinarians having that sort of problem occur because of how much we love these animals and how much we put into trying to help them, but just the innate difficulties of life is hard, and as much as we want to save everything, we can't save everything, and how that wears on the veterinary profession. And just talk to us about how to be more kind to one another, and kind to ourselves, to help get through the difficult times with patients. So those are the sessions that I wanted to go over. And then I'm going to take you guys into the exhibit hall for a moment because, a part of the conference as well, like I was saying at the beginning, is being around like-minded individuals and getting to have a sense of community with people who love birds. And so there's an exhibit hall where exhibitors come and display different things, products and stuff. But it's a fun place to go to because you get to meet all these different people um, who enjoy birds, but are also wanting to teach you about things that they have. So first one is Lafeber's booth. There's Michiko right there. She's on the call right now, but I got a nice picture of her standing in front of the Nutriberries and the whole Lefeber's little area. But then I also snapped a photo of Dr. Ted Lefeber. He looks a little shocked in the photo because he wasn't prepared for me to take the photo of him. And after I took the photo, he was like, "What are you doing?" I said, I have a webinar that I need some photos for. Um, but, just displaying all the great Lefeber's products and everything. A couple of other like cool exhibitors. I wanted to talk about the My Dog group people for just a moment because this is something that's a little newer and people may have their veterinarians talk with them about this particular testing. So when we are worried about infections in animals, we often want to know like what type of bacteria or fungal organism could potentially be present causing this infection. And also when we figure out what type of bacteria is present, it helps us to know which type of antibiotic is going to be appropriate to kill off that organism. And traditionally, in order to find out that information, we do cultures. So we actually take a sample of, whatever thing is infected, and we put it on a little petri dish, we grow it. The lab does various tests and tells us, oh, it's E. coli, or oh, it's salmonella, or whatever type of bacteria or fungal organism it could be. There is newer uh, testing that is available that is next generation DNA sequencing. So actually, you can take that same sample from an animal, and rather than doing a traditional culture, you can do a DNA test that actually looks for the DNA of the organism to tell us what particular organism it is. And it's something that's been out for a few years now. And personally, I've been using it more and more, and it's just a little different take on the culture. We still get similar results, but the MyDog test, that's just the company that does the next generation DNA sequencing. They give us the information on all the different organisms that are there, whereas cultures will have bacteria are actively growing in a culture, so they sometimes outcompete for one another. So sometimes you may have like 3 organisms that are in a sample, but when you culture it, only 2 of the organisms grow because those 2 outcompeted that third one. And so sometimes a traditional culture can miss things. So the MyDog test actually, because it's just looking for the DNA, is going to find a whole lot more stuff, which is good and bad. It's good because you get a really like thorough picture of what's going on. But I say it's bad, not that it is bad, it's just confusing from the practitioner side of things, because traditionally we always look at cultures and we look at 1 or 2 or 3 bacteria, but now this is giving us way more information. So this has like a lot of bacteria and fungal organisms that a lot of us haven't heard about because they're non-pathogens. So sometimes we go like, oh, look at this weird bacteria that showed up on here. I have no idea what that is. I need to go and research and figure out what this thing is. And then come find out that it's just a normal organism. So interesting. If anybody has, any people who are watching this, their veterinarian wants to do this sort of test on their bird for identifying, infections and things, that's what it is. This other group here, this was the flat perch group. They sell flat perches, so there you can kind of see pictures in the back here of like the flat perch that they have, and they can cover the flat perches with different soft materials, but it's just a different type of perch for variety of different birds, but for oftentimes thought about in birds who are having any sort of handicaps or arthritis, maybe nice to have like a broader sort of perch for them. So I thought they were pretty, neat group to see. This other one was super cool too. This Beaktivity group I thought was really neat. I had never heard of them before. What the Beaktivity group is, they provide toys, they make toys, and you can kind of see the picture of this toy here. But what's unique about them is like they make their toys such that the pieces are reusable. So like you can see this cool metal thing here where you can hang various items from it. But this whole apparatus is meant to be reused, and then they use for the toys like sustainable things that um, the birds are going to destroy and have fun with. But then you're supposed to keep this thing, and you can actually um, do a like mail order thing with them where you get your like Beaktivity box. I don't know how often, maybe monthly or what have you, but they mail you your Beaktivity box that has these various little pieces, and you just string them back on your toy. So it's meant to be a little bit more economical and more environmentally friendly. And again, they use different toys that are more sustainable things. So I thought they were really cool. And actually they've been to various different like pet exhibited in different like pet expos and things like that. And they've won several rewards that they were showcasing off there. So a neat group that I think people should know about. I'm probably going to look into maybe getting some toys from them too, because I mean, when you have birds, you need to have lots of toys, and they're constantly destroying them. So you need to have more resources. So a resource for people. There's also an auction that happens every year too. The purpose of the auction, people donate stuff to the auction. Um, but and then it's sold, right? People auction it off, and all the money that goes into this, that is collected from the auction, goes towards avian research. So it's really neat because, like, first off, the vast majority of the things are all bird related in some way. Whether it's just cool artwork or fun pillows, or stuff over here, like we've got Lafeber's products that were being auctioned off. There's books, that's really helpful. Sometimes there's instruments. These are surgical caps, just a variety of different things that people auction off, which is cute. Number one, because it's fun bird stuff. It's practical. Number two, because you need it anyways. And then number three, all the money goes towards giving back to avian research so that AAV can fund more research at university level or whatever level, to help us learn more about birds, so that we can do better by them in the long run. There was also this year a career networking event that was new. We haven't had that before. So that was just nice for the veterinarians who are and students and people looking to move, all that sort of stuff, for different people to network, get to know each other a little bit more, and see, if they could be working at different places. All right, now this is my final slide. And then I will open it up for any questions that people have. That was the conference. It was a really good experience. And I just wanted to say thank you really to the AAV, because this was an amazing 3 years that I was not expecting to go as well as it did. Because like I said, when the person reached out to me, her name's Anna Osofsky, she was actually the president before me, when she reached out to me and said, hey, do you think you'd be interested in being the AAV president? And I really was quite shocked, like I said, that she called and asked me that, because I really didn't think I was that level of like leadership material. It turned out that it was a really great experience. I loved doing the presidency. I loved helping with planning the conference and being behind the scenes with everything. So thank you to those AAV members who thought that I could do it, because it was really cool in the end. So I'm now officially off of AAV leadership stuff. The next people are on board to help lead the conference and the committees and all of the association forward. But it was great. So at that, does anybody have any questions or anything?
Well, first of all, you're way too humble because those are like your peers that want you to be in like the lead, to take the lead role. So that says a lot about you amongst your peers. I mean, we love you here on our, our webinars, but you're also just that says a lot, I think. So you should be very proud of yourself for being pres. I mean, that's amazing. Yeah. And that dog, it looks bigger than you.
Yeah. Well, that's my dog. His name is Buatis. He and I are just about the same weight wise.
Oh my goodness, what a cutie pie. Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that was an amazing walkthrough. I mean, I loved that we got to see that a lot of avian, like you guys get excited about like bird stuff like we do. Like, you know,
Yeah.
like seeing the free-flighted birds and then I mean that's just amazing. And then I'm sure that since you were local this time, you had a bigger shopping bag taking home, didn't you? Because I
Yes.
know that.
Actually, that is true. Because since I was local and I, drove my car to stay at the resort there, it was easy to just put stuff in my car. So I didn't have the typical issues of I can only get so much because I can only get so much back on the plane with me.
Right, yeah. Do you see a lot of bird flair on vets there? I mean, is it
Yes.
like it is for like AFA and stuff? Is it
Yeah, absolutely. People have fun, different, earrings, necklaces, clothing, I mean, shoes, just all different fun bird themed stuff, bags, lots of unique things. It's really a lot of fun.
Oh, I love it. Okay, we do have a question. Wanted to know, do the presentations get recorded and can anyone watch or buy the recordings to see them? Or is it just for vets and vet techs? Yeah, it says as a bird owner, I'm always interested in learning new things and especially related to bird care. So, is it something that's accessible to like everyone online today, for example?
Well, so it's accessible, but it's accessible to members of the Association of Avian Veterinarians. So it's accessible to veterinarians, veterinary technicians, the allied professionals, those sort of things. Because you have to be a member to be able to access it. And it does, I will say, vary from year to year. Like this year we did record some of the presentations, but it's also dependent upon the person who is the presenter, because some presenters maybe they work for an institution where it doesn't allow them to do recordings, or just personally they didn't want to be recorded. So not everybody gets recorded. But we did have recordings this year, and for AAV members, at some point in the future, I don't know exactly when, but at some point in the future, there is going to be a release of like, hey, the lectures are up and you can go and see them. Um, so, but we don't do that every year because there is additional like stuff that goes into recording and editing and all of that stuff that's behind the scenes to get those things up. So
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. And then someone had a question, and it's actually kind of based on one of the topics that was given. And if a bird is in pain and you give CBD, how do you know if it really helps them feel better? What's the sign of that?
sure. Well, okay, so that particular talk, I will say, was looking at when pain studies are done, it's kind of a difficult thing to study because it's a welfare problem, right? Like we can't just cause pain to animals, give them medications, and then be like, did it help? Because if we're causing pain, that's a welfare issue, right? So a lot of pain studies are actually done on what's called thermal antinociception. So basically, there's like a hot plate. In the cases of birds, it's usually a perch, and there's the ability to heat that perch up. And a bird will be sitting on said perch, they heat the perch up and they watch at what point does the bird like lift its foot, like, oh, ouch, sort of thing. And then it stops, and so that may happen first to see like, okay, at what point are they pulling their foot away. And then follow-up studies, they give them the pain medication and then they do it again and they see how long does it take to pull that foot away. Now there's definitely some not all pain is like hot pain, so like it's not perfect, but it's kind of like the most humane way that we can do pain studies. So it really, that is how the study is done. Now when you're looking at it from a perspective of like being an owner watching your pet and seeing like, is this actually helping to reduce pain? A lot of times what I'll talk with owners about is watch their behaviors. Are they eating? Are they talking? Are they trying to move around and do their normal things? If they are doing normal behaviors, they're eating, they're talking, they're trying to be active, then one would hope that would correlate with an individual being less painful. Because usually when an animal is painful, I mean, think about what you do when you're in pain. You want to sit there, you don't want to move around as much. You're kind of like squinting your eyeballs, you're like hunched in, right? Maybe you don't want to eat, maybe you eat fine, depends, right? On what kind of pain you're dealing with as to whether or not you want to eat. So the eating thing is like plus or minus how well you can really use it to assess response to pain medications, but it is one of the things that we can use. But eyes say a lot, like squinting eyeballs in a lot of species is an indication of pain, you know, versus really bright open wide eyes, that's usually an animal that's feeling more comfortable.
Oh wow. Okay. Okay. That is fascinating. Um, so question, this probably be our final question is they want to know, they'd love to attend a conference like this. Is there a level of membership for other people, so, like rescue directors that could join AAV, or is it for vets and vet techs and veterinary
So
students?
that would be how people would go through like the allied membership. Now, I will say the allied memberships are like if you're like a avian rescue or something like that, then that's probably where you'd more likely to be able to get a membership to AAV. One of the things that AAV has done is they want any allied members to also be active and not just be like observing, right? They want you to be a part of the community. And so like what do you have to offer to the AAV is the other thing too. And so when allied members do, you know, try to join or a group tries to join as an allied member, that is one of the things that AAV will ask you, well, what can contribute to us as well? So if people are interested, that's something you'll have to keep in mind.
Okay, okay, that is fabulous. I mean, what's exciting about this is the things that you guys talk about that you go to these lectures from your colleagues. It bubbles into the care that we receive on our end with our birds from you guys,
Yeah,
from the vets, and so that's the amazing part about this conference, I think, is the
yeah, for sure.
wow. Again, amazing that it happens to be in beautiful Phoenix, Arizona. You did a really good job. And that rattlesnake, man, you got a really good action. For someone who doesn't says they don't take good photos, that was an amazingly scary photo because he was ready to go. So
Yeah. I was like, let me just take your photo and I will walk over here. Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate that you were so kind in letting me know you were there.
I think he sensed that you were a friend, not a foe. And so
Yeah.
and speaking of, yeah, I'm just once again my little like everyone be kind to pigeons because
Yep.
they are really cool. So,
Exactly.
funny, I happen to wear my pigeon shirt at the same time. Okay. Wow. Okay. This is such a great, you do such a good job with your slides. You really take us back. It's amazing. Um, okay. So we have a giveaway today. We have a winner of our giveaway, and that is going to Laura Peragaro. Congratulations. I guess yeah, of course. What would you get? The pumpkin spice nooch berries. It's the flavor of fall, as well as another Lefever product of your bird's choosing. And let's see. I guess just a real quick sneak peek for next Friday. We're going to be on with Lisa Bono. She's going to do the do's and don'ts of parrot behavior and care. It's part of the parrot's past and present. So she'll walk us through where we started and where we are now with behavior and care. So join us next Friday. And then we have Dr. Tolian for a Halloween edition of Ask the Vet. So hopefully we'll find some scary cases. I'm just kidding. Just kind of keep with the theme. Um, all right. On that note, Dr. Lamb, once again, thank you so much for your time. And I mean, I can speak for everyone on here. Everyone just loves your presentations. Like always, are always
Thanks.
so informative and a lot of hard work goes in behind. I mean, you have to go come back from the conference and then put together these fabulous slideshow for us, take pictures at the conference. So you're learning and also like behind the scenes stuff. So that you deserve a rest. So I hope you get one.
Thank you.
All right, guys. On that note, I'm gonna wish everyone a fabulous weekend. All the best to you and your flock. Until next time. Bye.
Bye.